was the moment you realized, you know what, I'm actually really, really good at this?
No, from not getting the proper training, not having the right training program, eating plan, and doing well in amateurs, I thought, you know, my dad was training me, so there was, you know, we're just following what he knew. He wasn't even a boxer himself, or didn't have experience, but being able to achieve some good results, that's when we sort of realized, you know, we can do quite well in the sport, and we just need the proper guidance and help.
Alright. So. You ever surprised by how fast you are? Do you ever go and like, man, I'm really fast?
Speed, being fast, I think it's a gift I have, and my dad's been helping me develop it as a young boy. His focus was speed. You know, speed brings power, and then obviously Kevin's helped it a lot more. So I think I'm just blessed with speed, and I'm trying to use it to the best of my ability.
How'd you meet Kevin? Kevin, you can come in on this too if you want.
How did I meet Kevin?
Yeah, how did that happen? How'd you guys meet? At the bar?
Yeah. Kevin, the promoters that I signed with, very good friends with Kevin, so when I signed with them, they said I needed to leave New Zealand and train with a proper trainer, you know. And so they got in contact with Kevin, and the deal was made. He came down to New Zealand, and I met him for the first time in the office. And I walked into the office, there was Kevin sitting down, you know, ready to take me back to, or bring me back to Vegas. And I was the first time I met him, and then how long were we? I think we were just getting to know each other for 3 or 4 days, and we flew back straight away. But I think my promoters said it was a good idea, and they knew Kevin, they had a good relationship with him. He lived here, obviously the best sparring, best training, best place to be for boxing, the mecca of boxing, so that's how it all started. But Kevin can tell you in more detail and a lot better than what I just said.
So Kevin.
I think Joe answered that very well.
They say, hey, we want you to train a kid named Joe Parker. What was your initial thoughts, and tell me, what were you thinking?
The process with Duco, David Higgins and Dean Lonergan signing Joe took 7.5 months, putting the deal together. And during that time, they were in contact with me. Lonergan used to come out to Vegas about 3 times a year, and he came out, I remember when Joe was in the amateurs, and he said to me one day, he said, we're going to put this kid Joseph Parker on our corporate card. And I said, wow, that's big for an amateur boxer in New Zealand to go on a live TV card. And then about 3 months after that, he came back out and he said, I think Dave and I are going to get into boxing. And I said, wow. He said, yeah, we're going to sign Joseph Parker. And I said, wow, that's great. And he said, if we want you to train him. And I said, okay. Well, I said, if you sign him, I'll train him. And that's when the process started. I was having a little bit of time out. I had to get a shoulder repaired. I had my left shoulder rotator labrum and a couple of bone spurs repaired in December of 2012. And I flew down to New Zealand in March 2013, met Joe, met his family, and 2 or 3 days later I was on my way back here to Vegas with Joe, preparing him. My first assignment was in 8 weeks' time you're going to fight Francois Botha. Wow. And you know, Joe at that stage was a 4-0 pro fighting in 4 and 6 rounders. He was very much still an amateur. Didn't know how to sit down on his punches, didn't even realize that he could punch hard, had great hand speed, he had God-given hand speed, but he had no idea how to fight like a professional. And so it was a big assignment, the first 8 weeks, and I realized early that once we got to Vegas, we really had to hit the ground running. And we're talking about a young man who had really no idea about living like a professional, so we had to get him on a good diet, some good supplements, a good training regime. And one thing that really stood out to me, Joe was a great trainer. He was a guy who wasn't afraid to train. He would push himself to the max every day in the gym. And so I realized, yeah, look, after a couple of weeks of training him, I thought, look, you know, maybe this young guy is going to be okay. And so I rang the guys in New Zealand. I said, look, you know, you've given me a huge assignment. Joe's been fighting 4-round fights against guys who really aren't a test to him, and then you throw him in with Francois Botha, who, be it he was at the end of his career, had fought all the champions, and was definitely not going to be intimidated by a 4-0 young pro who had never fought past 4 rounds. So after 2 weeks into our camp in Vegas, I rang them and I said, I need to put Joe in a fight in California. I need to give ourselves every chance to be successful against Botha. I needed to know how Joe was going to react on the trip to California, how he would be at the weigh-in, how he would be fight day. Because I was still learning about Joseph Parker. He was showing me good things in the gym, but it's a lot different between training in the gym, sparring in the gym, and actually real fight competition, and he passed that test before the guy Bryce Ratani. Joe was very composed the whole way down, the weigh-in, never missed a beat, never raised a beat with his heart rate, and fight day was just a charm. He was very relaxed in the corner. We had great communication. He listened to everything I said. He went out and did what I said. And as a coach, these things told me a lot. And I knew after that fight, yeah, we had a really good chance of performing well against Botha. Now, this 8-week training camp, when you're fighting a guy like Botha, and you've got a young guy like Joseph Parker, who, as I mentioned, was still fighting with straight legs, didn't know how to bend his legs, didn't know how to pull the power from the lower part of his body. Didn't really know how to use his jab properly as a weapon. So we worked out there was one combination that we worked on. It was jab to the head, change your level, drop the jab to the body, throw an overhand right once you'd changed your level. And Joe really liked this combination, and he liked the fact that once he sat down on his power, he could, for the first time ever, he could feel his right hand. So I thought, okay, this is going to be our combination. I'm going to teach you to make the jab a weapon, okay, to control the distance and fight like a big man, and this is our one combination. And in the second round of the Botha fight, he went straight out, he jabbed the head, jabbed the body, threw the overhand, and caught Botha. Botha never recovered. And so that was the beginning of our time together.
Do you remember that punch, Joe? Is he here?
He's in the shower.
Oh, in the shower.
Joe goes, I've heard the story.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out of here, coach.
I'm out of here, coach.
But I tell you what, when I talk about that one fight, and that fight really set the platform for Joseph Parker's career, because we were down in New Zealand for the week before the fight. Botha was running amok. He was being his usual self. He was intimidating. He was standing over Joe. He called him Baby Joseph. He said, "Sonny, you've never seen anything like this. You can't show me anything that I haven't seen. I've fought all the great champions. Hey, I'm old, but I mean, you're a kid. You know, you can't possibly hurt me." And all my friends were saying, "Look, we know that Joe's been with you for 8 weeks now, and we know you're a good trainer and everything. But Joe's, the thing is, we know Joe's got good hand speed. The best we could hope for is that Joe can maybe last 8 rounds, because no one has seen him go past 4, and he wins the fight on points and doesn't get clipped." And so, when Joe went out there and blasted them out in 2 rounds, a lot of people thought, wow, maybe we have something here. But what I was going to say is, with all the intimidation and everything else from Francois, who, by the way, is a gentleman and a great friend of our team, and we love Francois to bits, but he did everything in his power to throw Joe off his game. And I talked to Joe and I just said, "Look, mate, there's going to be things said. He may even put his hands on you." I said, this is part of the theatrics of professional boxing. Mate, our fight is not outside the ring. Our fight is inside the ring. Okay, so we don't have to buy into any of this bullshit. Okay, step aside. Just don't even let it get to you. And he never did. He stayed very calm. We're in the dressing room 3 hours before the fight that night, and this is Joe's record now is 5-0. He was heading his first pay-per-view card on live television in New Zealand as a 5-0 fighter. Enormous pressure, enormous expectation. Francois had the name. They'd seen Joe in the amateurs, never made the Olympics. So here we are in the dressing room, the cameras are coming in, and I'm just wondering how Joe's going to react with all this attention. There was an enormous amount of press on him at that stage, and this is something that we've had right throughout his career, and that's why now, even in the UK with, you know, in a room of 100 reporters, it's not a big deal for us because, you know, we've never had 100 reporters, but we've had a lot of media all the way through the 5 years. So we're in the dressing room. Joe's got, he says to me, look, I've got a half a dozen cousins. You know, coach, if it's okay with you, I'd like to bring them into the dressing room. And I said, well, you know, what are these guys to you? And he said, these are the guys that when I never had a car and couldn't get to training, would come and pick me up and take me to training. These are the guys that, you know, when I had no money to buy lunch, that they'd buy my lunch. You know, these are the guys that supported me right throughout my amateur career. I said, Joe, these are your guys, they're my guys. And they're in the dressing room, okay, so we've got the music turned up, and they're dancing, and they're singing, and Joe's laughing, and I'm just going, okay, and every now and then I'd go over and he'd put his fight face on, and we'd talk, and we'd go over the game plan, and he said, Coach, I got it, you got it, I've got it, and back dancing, back singing, and I'd never ever experienced that before. He was so calm. We walk out, the cameras come in, we walk out to the arena, and Joe's got this huge big smile on his face, and he laughs all the way to the ring. And my friends there said to me afterwards, oh my God, we felt so bad for you, because we were saying, this kid's got no idea what he's in for. He's just blown away by the occasion. And here he is smiling. He doesn't realize what's going to happen. And he gets inside the ring, and he looks at me and gives me a smile, and that's the last smile we saw. Okay, then he stands there in the ring, they introduce the fight, and he just switched on. The fight face came on, and took care of him in 2 rounds. And the first thing I remember, you know, it was an exciting fight, a great result. But I remember stepping out of the ring, and the first person there was Dean Lonergan, and Dave Higgins was standing there, and I said, guys, and they said, oh, awesome, awesome, Kev, awesome. I said, I tell you what, in all my years of coaching, I've never ever seen a fighter who can control his emotions like what Joseph just did. When he had so much pressure on him, he pushed all the pressure aside and performed. It didn't just perform, he did to both of what no one had ever done to him before, knocking him out in 2 rounds. I said, if this young guy can listen to me for the next couple of years, I believe we have a fighter that we can take all the way to the world title. And of course, we won the world title, and now we're trying to win more world titles.